Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the parliament, okay? And basically these are the topics that we have scheduled for the discussion under this particular series, like the introduction part, like the organization of parliament, like the composition of two houses, like the system of elections to Lok Sabha, like the duration of two houses, like the membership of parliament, like the presiding officers of parliament, like the leaders in parliament, like the sessions of parliament, like the devices of parliamentary proceedings, like the legislative process in parliament, like the joint sitting of two houses, like the budget in parliament, like the multifunction role of parliament, like the ineffectiveness of parliamentary control, like the position of Rajya Sabha, like the parliamentary privileges, and like the sovereignty of parliament. Okay. And if we talk about the topics that we have covered, we have done with the introduction part, organization of parliament, composition of two houses, system of elections to Lok Sabha, duration of two houses, membership of parliament, presiding officers of parliament, leaders in parliament, sessions of parliament, devices of parliamentary proceedings. Okay. And the topics that are remaining, the topics on which we have been discussing upon is the legislative process in parliament. And the remaining topics are joint sitting of two houses, budget in parliament, multifunctional role of parliament, ineffectiveness of parliamentary control, position of Rajya Sabha, parliamentary privileges, and the sovereignty of parliament. Okay, so these are the things. So basically in this lecture, we will continue from where we had left in the previous one. So basically, money bills we had started in the previous lecture. Okay, and we had discussed that basically the article 110 is the article in the Indian Constitution that deals with the definition of money bills. In this, we had discussed the 7 conditions, like if there is any certain bill which contains these 7 conditions or any of these conditions. Okay, then the bill will be called as a money bill. Okay, that's what we had discussed. So basically, what were these 7 conditions? First, the imposition, abolition, remission, alteration, or regulation of any tax. Second, the regulation of the borrowing of money by the union government. Third, the custody of the Constituent Fund of India or the Contingency Fund of India, the payment of monies into or withdrawal of money from such fund. The appropriation of money out of the Constituent Fund of India, the declaration of any expenditure charged on the Constituent Fund of India or increasing the amount of any such expenditure, the receipt of money on account of Constituent Fund of India or the public account of India or the custody or issue of such money or the audit of the accounts of the union or of a state, any matter incidental to any of these matters specified above. So these were the 7 conditions on which the bill could be declared as a money bill or not. And the conditions on which the bill will not declared as a money bill are the imposition of fines or the pecuniary penalties, the demand or payment of fees for licenses or fees for services rendered, or the imposition, abolition, remission, alteration, or regulation of any tax by any local authority or body for local purposes. So, if any question arises whether the bill is money bill or not, so we know the presiding officer of the Lok Sabha, he takes the decision, and whatever decisions he will take, whether to approve bill as a money bill or whether not to approve it, the decision final. That could not be challenged in the court of law, no voting could be held, and no addressal would be given by the president. Okay, so that's what we had discussed in the previous lecture. Now let's move forward. So basically, here is the procedure that we are going to see. When a money bill is transmitted to the Rajya Sabha for the recommendation and presented to the president for assent, the speaker endorses it as a money bill. So here remember one thing which I would like to tell you. Okay, like if we take the case of ordinary bill. Okay, so what we had seen there, the ordinary bill could be presented either house of parliament, whether Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, either house of parliament, this could be presented. Okay, but on the other hand, if we take the money bill, so the liberty of being presented either house of parliament is restricted here. Okay, the money bill could only be presented, or you can say only be introduced in Lok Sabha. Okay, it could not be presented in the Rajya Sabha. All right, so that's why when we talk about the presiding officer, so we only take the reference of the speaker because he is the presiding officer of the Lok Sabha. We didn't take the reference of the chairman of Rajya Sabha. Why? Because he is the presiding officer of the Rajya Sabha in which the bill could not be introduced. Okay, so remember this thing. All right. So whenever the bill transmitted to the Rajya Sabha, it means that the money bill is passed in Lok Sabha, then this will go to the Rajya Sabha as the normal procedure. Because any bill which is become to be statute, these bills require to be passed by both the houses. Okay. So whenever the bill will transfer to the Rajya Sabha from the Lok Sabha, basically it is the responsibility of the speaker that he should endorse that the bill which has been transferred to the Rajya Sabha is the money bill. Okay. It means that the speaker is the one who will authenticate the bill as a money bill. Okay. The constitution lays down a special procedure for passing of the money bills in the parliament. Okay. Like the first thing that we could see here, and the same thing I had already told you, the money bill can only be introduced in Lok Sabha and two on the recommendations of the president. Okay. It means that president recommendation is required before presenting it to the parliament. And if the money bill is to be presented in the parliament, then only the Lok Sabha would be the house in which that could be presented. Okay. Every such bill is considered to be a government bill and can be introduced only by a minister. And if we take the specification, then by the finance minister only. Okay. Unlike the ordinary bill, where both whether the minister or private member, they both have the liberty to present it the bill. Okay. Here it is could be only presented by the minister, or we can say the finance minister. And because the finance minister is the part of council of minister and council of minister is the part of ruling party is the part of union government, so that's why it is known as the government bill. Okay, it is could not be considered as a non-government. Why? Because without finance minister no one could introduce the money bill in the parliament. Thereafter, after a money bill is passed by the Lok Sabha, it is transmitted to the Rajya Sabha for its consideration. Okay, the Rajya Sabha has restricted powers with regard to a money bill. Okay, like if we talk about the ordinary bill cases, we had discussed the Rajya Sabha had the three powers. Like, what were these three powers? Rajya Sabha could give assent to bill or proposes amendments and send it back for reconsideration. This is the first case. Second case, Rajya Sabha could reject the bill. Okay. Third case, Rajya Sabha could hold the bill for 6 months. Okay. So these are the three powers granted to the Rajya Sabha in the cases of ordinary bills. Okay. These are the things. But whenever this would be a question of money bill, whenever this would be a question of money bill, these three powers are basically restricted with the Rajya Sabha. Okay. Like the manner of freely using these powers in the cases of ordinary bill is not available with the Rajya Sabha when this is the case of money bill. Okay, the powers are somewhat restricted here. And how? Let's see. The first case is that it cannot reject or amend a money bill. Okay, like in the ordinary cases, we have seen that if the Rajya Sabha wants, they could reject the bill, and if they wants to change something, so they could introduce the bill. Sorry, they could amend a bill. But here, Rajya Sabha cannot reject the bill or amend a money bill. First thing. Thereafter, it can only make the recommendations. Please remember that there are the difference between the recommendations and the amendment. Okay, recommendations are basically purpose, or you can say suggestions, not purpose. They are the suggestions. Okay, like do this and all and these things. Amendments are basically the changes. It means must do it. Okay, so these are the two different concepts. Okay, so Rajya Sabha could not amend the bill, but they could only give the recommendations or the suggestions only, and you can say these are only the advisory role. Okay, it must return the bill to the Lok Sabha within 14 days, whether with or without recommendations. It means that suppose if the bill was transmitted to the Rajya Sabha on 1st January 2024, for example. Okay, so till 14 January 2024, the bill must be given back to the Lok Sabha. Okay, it means that like the liberty to hold the bill for up to 60 months is not possible in the cases of money bill. Okay, the maximum time period to discuss and hold is granted as 14 days. Okay, within these 14 days, the Rajya Sabha is required to consider the bill and send it back to the Lok Sabha with or without recommendations. Okay, it is not compulsory that the recommendations are required. All right, the Lok Sabha can either accept or reject all or any of the recommendations of the Rajya Sabha. It means, suppose, for example, the Rajya Sabha gives 14 suggestions or recommendations. Okay, then it's depend upon the Lok Sabha whether they want to reject all of these 14 suggestions or the recommendations, or for example, they rejected 10 suggestions or recommendations. Okay, so the Lok Sabha having the power to wholly or partially reject its recommendations. Okay. If the Lok Sabha accepts any recommendation, the bill is then deemed to have been passed by both the houses in the modified form. Okay. Suppose if the original form like this, X, Y, Z, these are the provisions of the money bill. Then what happened? The Rajya Sabha modified the, or you can say suggested the modification in provision of Y. All right. In the provisions of Y. And if the Lok Sabha accept the suggestions, they said, okay, this suggestion is, you can say, good for the bill, so we will accepting it. So basically, the bill will become like this: X, Y1, and Z. And once the Lok Sabha accept it, the bill will not go again to the Rajya Sabha for the passing on. Okay, so remember this one. Thereafter, if the Lok Sabha does not accept any recommendation, the bill is then deemed to have passed by both the houses in the form originally passed by the Lok Sabha without any change. It means that suppose X, Y, and Z, the bill is sent to the Rajya Sabha X, Y, and Z. Okay, and basically the Rajya Sabha gives the recommendations and suggestions to alter the provisions of Z. And if the Lok Sabha does not approve it, still the bill would be passed as X, Y, and Z as it is. Okay. So basically it's depend upon the Lok Sabha to accept the recommendations or reject it. And this is known as the discretionary powers of the Lok Sabha. All right. After this, if the Rajya Sabha does not return the bill to the Lok Sabha within the 14 days, the bill is deemed to have been passed by both the houses in the original form passed by the Lok Sabha. It means that if the tenure of 1st January 2024 to 14 January 2024. Okay. If within this tenure, the Rajya Sabha fails to return the bill, still after the expiration of 14 January 2024, the bill would be declared as passed without any changes because the Rajya Sabha fails to introduce any changes in the bill. Okay. Thus, the Lok Sabha having the more powers than the Rajya Sabha with regard to the money bill. But in the cases of ordinary bills, they both have the equal powers. Okay. Like the same thing written down here. Finally, when a money bill is presented to the president, it's depend upon him. He may either give his assent to the bill or withhold his assent to the bill, but cannot return the bill for the reconsideration of the House. Okay. It means that whether he will pass the bill or you can say he will reject the bill, but he could not send it for the reconsideration of the houses. Okay. Remember this thing. But if we take the case in the ordinary situation or in the normal situation, so basically the president gives his assent to the money bill. Why? Because it could be only introduced in the parliament with his prior permission. Like we had seen, the money bill presented by the finance minister, okay, in the Lok Sabha with prior permission or recommendations of president. Okay. So basically now we are going to see the difference between the procedure for the enactment of ordinary bills and the money bills. Like we had seen that the money bills having the specific procedure which differs from the ordinary bills in case of passing and enacting the bills. All right. So let's see them, or you can say we will see them. After this, the third is the financial bill. So what are the financial bills? So basically, financial bills are those bills that deals with the fiscal matters like the revenue or the expenditure of the government exclusively, or as specifically. Okay. However, the constitution uses the term financial bills in the technical sense. Financial bills are of the three kinds. Money bills, Article 110. Financial Bill 1, Article 1171. Financial Bill 2nd, Article 1173. Okay. So all these three together termed as an financial bill. Got it? Now, if we talk about this, so this classification implies that the money bills are simply a specifics of the financial bills. Okay. Why? Because if we talk about the money bills and the financial bills, so we have talked, like we have seen, the financial bills basically talks about the what? They talks about the revenue or expenditure of the government. Okay. And if we take the case of money bills, so basically it's talk about the money from consolidated fund or contingency funds. Okay. And we know that basically these two funds are the funds where the government put their revenue or where the government withdraws the expenditure. Okay. These two are the funds. Got it? So basically that is the thing. All right. Why it is said like the money bill is specifics of financial bill, where the financial bill is the broad term used for the revenue expenditure. Money bill is a specific terms deals about the consolidated fund and the contingency funds, which are the money pooling and the money drawing sources for the government in the cases of revenue or the expenditures. All right. Hence, all money bills are financial bills, but all financial bills are not money bills. Remember this. Like if we take the, you can say example of reasoning, like we had take in the previous part also. Okay. In reasoning, I had told you about the Venn diagrams. Okay. So if there are two situations, like the financial bills are showcasing by the circle. Okay. And money bills are showcasing by the square. All right. So that would be a picture. So here you can say the entire money bills comes under the perimeter of the, or you can say not perimeter, under the boundaries of the circle, but only the few portion of circles comes under the square. So remember the golden dialogue. All money bills are financial bills, but all financial bills are not money bills. Okay? This dialogue please keep in your mind. Okay? Hence, all money bills are the financial bill, but all financial bills are not money bills, like we had seen here. So only those financial bills are money bills which contain exclusively those matters which are mentioned under the article 110, because the article 110 stands for the money bill. Okay. They are also certified by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha as money bills because he is the authority which authenticated or endorse bill as a money bill. And thus, the financial bills 1 and 2, on the other hand, have been dealt with the article 117 of the Constitution. All right. So, these are the basis of differentiation. Okay. So, students, basically in this lecture, we have finished till here. In the next lecture, we will continue from here. Till then, just revise the facts and figures that all we have discussed in this lecture. Be ready for the another lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture. And what we say thank you.